For more, let's bring in Ruchir Sharma, the Chief Global Strategist of Morgan Stanley Investment Management. He's also the author of the 10 Rules of Successful Nations. Ruchir, you write that on average, nations that have enjoyed the term reserve currency have done so for about 94 years. The dollar is going on 100 years as of 2020. But why do you think that Bitcoin could pose a challenge to the dollar where the euro or the yuan could not?
Exactly, because all these central banks are following essentially the same policies, that they're printing a lot. And so therefore, for the last few years, I've been relatively optimistic on the US dollar as people have tried to pump up the euro or the Chinese currency, knowing that those currencies don't really pose a threat to the US dollar's reserve currency status. But what's happened over the past year has been exceptional. The amount of dollars that have been printed and currencies around the world that have been printed to keep economies afloat has been unprecedented, way larger than anything we saw in the 2008-2009 financial crisis. And I think that this, at the margin, is leading to an erosion in trust in paper currencies. Now, I don't think that Bitcoin is the end game, but I think that we are moving in that direction where people are looking for alternatives. And the Bitcoin surge this year is just one sign of that we may think that there are no alternatives because we think in linear way. The euro, the yuan, those will be the alternatives. Just like in the past, the reserve currencies were always replaced by one currency after another. Before the US dollar, it was the British pound. Before that, it was the French currency, then the Dutch currency, and the Portuguese, and the Spanish, and so forth. But this time something different is afoot.
Right.
And I think that the Bitcoin surge is a sign of that.
Ruchir, but in these countries where money is being printed, there is someone doing the printing. There is a central bank that is in control of these price levels and the amount of supply in the system. I mean, Bitcoin, for all of all it's overcome in the last several years, I mean, it still has no global cop on the beat. It still is mined from a computer. It still could bankrupt someone's account from a simple technological hack. So how do you think that this is a long-term sustainable alternative for someone who loses trust in, say, a government-backed currency to put everything in Bitcoin as an alternative?
Yeah, I think that the biggest story here is blockchain technology. So that is what's really led to the rise of Bitcoin. And it's amazing. You talk about these trust levels. What I find so fascinating is the demographic divide out here. That you speak to the millennials and the younger population, and they have a lot of trust in Bitcoin and the way it is controlled, its supply is controlled. But a lot of the older folks are very skeptical of that. But my point is a bit different here, which is that the Bitcoin is just a sign that something is afoot, and this blockchain technology could lead to an alternative out here. Now, the end game may be very different. We may move to some sort of a modern barter system where you don't even need a currency to trade, just because blockchain technology allows for things to be fractionalized and for exchange to take place. So Bitcoin is a product of that. But I think that this is all a sign that if you print so much, there will be an alternative. And that's, I think, what's coming through with this Bitcoin surge. And remember, this is still very early days. The total size of the cryptocurrency market is still only $500 billion. Gold, which is always seen as a traditional hedge, the size of that market is $12 trillion or so. So these are still very early days. But I think that this is a shot across the bow, that there are consequences of printing yourself in such a large way.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.